My name is Aidan Toole. I'm a third-year student at Drexel University studying human-centered design. I'm originally from Northern Virginia, right outside Washington, D.C. And I am a junior designer. I like to keep it broad. A lot of people ask me what kind of roles I'm in and don't want to limit myself to any sort of specific kind of design. So a lot of different roles in play there. I started getting into design probably way back to like 8th grade graduation. I was talking with my parents about what kind of extracurriculars I should be thinking about in high school. And my aunt actually told me, she's like, you should check out graphic design, I think you'd really like it. So freshman year of high school, I took this graphic design class where we learned Photoshop. I thought it was really interesting and I liked it a lot, and then throughout those 4 years in high school it eventually progressed into like Adobe Illustrator and a little bit of 3D modeling. Then I also got my feet wet with freelancing at the time. So a lot of graphic design focus in high school, and I wasn't quite sure what to do with that once I came to Drexel. So I just started getting involved in like the campus community. There's an incubator on campus where student-led startups can like thrive and be based out of. So I started getting involved there, doing basic work with like marketing and advertising kind of tasks. And then one day, one of the students I was working for, he asked me if I knew how to do web design. And of course at the time I had no idea how to do it, but I told him, yeah, I was like, of course I know web design. So we did this project, and it was a disaster. It was like nothing worked the way it was supposed to be. The developer was pissed, but it was a really unique experience. Looking back, it's actually pretty funny. But that was like the first point where I was exposed to user interface and user experience design. It was really exciting because I wanted to find a way to do something practical with the graphic design stuff that I had learned in high school, but I wasn't quite sure like what outlet that would be or what that would look like. And so doing that one project really opened my eyes to this field of UI UX, and I really wanted to do more with that. So I started getting involved with research labs on campus, human-computer interaction stuff, working with psychologists, developers, and researchers. These are all students. Just kept on working with that. And I remember I worked on this one project. It was me and one other developer, and we had finished this project from start to finish. And I held the final product like in my hands, and like I interacted with it, and I was like, this is amazing. Like it was so cool to like be able to like physically like interact with something that I had helped create. Like that moment I kind of knew like this is what I wanted to do for like the rest of my life, or as like a professional career path. It was an absolutely amazing experience. I think it started back in maybe November 2016. I was looking for places to intern at. I just wanted to find like any sort of place that was design focused that I could gain experience out of. So I started looking on Dribble, just like going to these agencies' websites and finding some sort of frame of reference, someone to contact, and then just I would write an email and ask if they had any sort of internship programs, and if so, how I could get involved. During those couple months before hearing from Fantasy, I must have sent out like at least 100 emails or like LinkedIn connections just asking about internships, and nobody responded. Fantasy was the only one who followed up, and it was in with like a couple weeks. So after that, hopped on a Skype call with one of the directors there, hopped on another Skype call a week later saying that I had an offer. So that was amazing. So then fast forward to April 2017, that was when I started. I did a whole bunch of different work. I mean, it was really like the work I did at Fantasy was based off of the knowledge that I had gathered from my previous experiences. It wasn't like a linear thing. So like I worked on a lot of UX for these projects. Some of these projects were like just incredible. So I worked on a project for Marvel, LG, Royal Caribbean, and then this app called Fubo TV. But I mean, those 4 projects were just like, I mean, it was just so cool to be like working with these professionals. So I started doing more UX-based kind of tasks, just you know, thinking about the flow of like these projects that we were working on, and like what the layout would look like and why it should look like that. But then I eventually started progressing into prototyping. You know, at the time, fantasy was, and probably still is, huge on prototyping right now. So before I worked at Fantasy, I had started like dabbling around in you know, like Principle, InVision, and so they were really pushing for everyone to learn Principle. And so I had told them that I was familiar with this program, and like almost immediately, like almost all the tasks I was working on from then on was just like prototyping. So like, I mean, it was just super exciting. And you know, going back to like holding that like product in your hands and like interacting with it, I mean, like prototyping was just so much fun at Fantasy. So yeah, about halfway through my internship at Fantasy, I started thinking about what I was going to do for my next internship the following summer. So I went back onto Dribble and LinkedIn, started reaching out to people, asking about internships. I sent a lot of LinkedIn requests to university recruiters for big tech companies. And about a month before my internship with Fantasy ended, I got a response from a product design university recruiter from Facebook. So that was exciting. And I remember the first time I spoke with this recruiter, I was at a company lunch for Fantasy in New York. We went to this Chinese restaurant, and I had to step out and hop on this phone call with this recruiter. And the phone call went well. You know, we talked about a lot of things related to like my experience as a designer and just like general things about myself. So it went really well. It was very laid back. But when I came back to the lunch, everyone had already finished their meals, and mine was wrapped up in this doggy bag, and I had to finish it. I had to eat this meal back at the office while everyone went back to work. So I thought that was pretty funny. So that happened, and then there was another round of interviewing after that, and there was about like 3 to 4 weeks of just waiting, and I was really on edge. And so this must have been less than a week after I finished my internship with Fantasy, I got a phone call back at home in Virginia, and it was this recruiter, and they said, congratulations, you've been accepted into the Facebook product design internship program. So I mean, it just felt so good to like know at that point, and it was so exhilarating. I ran around my house for like 2 hours, and I called up my mom and my dad, and I was like, you're not gonna believe this. So you know, super high energy. It was just an amazing feeling to know that I had like finally done this. You know, this was kind of like a goal that I've had ever since that one web design project back at the incubator a couple years ago. You know, I always wanted to work at one of these big tech companies doing design, doing things I love. So you know, it just feels good that I finally that I've come this far. A couple of things I'm nervous about. I guess kind of like the imposter syndrome to an extent. You know, there's a lot of extremely talented people working there now, and there's going to be a lot of talented students and interns that are going to be there as well. And so it does kind of feel like, am I actually good enough? You know, like whenever there's like some sort of miscommunication between me and the recruiter, it's just like I feel like this is it. Like this has all been like a prank, and like I'm actually not going to be over there. hopefully that's not the case. But you know, otherwise I'm just like super excited. I mean, I cannot wait to see what kind of projects I'm going to be working on. I'm going to be on the core app team, so I mean, it's just going to be, I cannot wait. I mean, it's just going to be so cool. And you know, even after this internship ends, you know, I can't wait to see what's going to happen for me, what this internship means once I graduate. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons to be happy, and I can't wait to start. I've been saying I can't wait. I'm so ready to start this internship this summer. So. In terms of academic experience in relation to these experiences I've had at like these internships and just like general work experience, I would say it's pretty interesting. Drexel has this really unique program called the co-op program. And basically what that means is every 6 months I'm either in school or at work. So when I was at Fantasy, I spent 6 months there, and now I'm doing 6 months in school, and then at the end of that I'll be back on the 6 months again, and that's where Facebook kind of takes place. So over the summer when I was at Fantasy, it was just like I feel like I learned so much, and like putting that in perspective with what I've done or what I did in school at the time was just like, there was just like absolutely no comparison. It was just like, I felt like, what am I doing in school? You know, why am I still doing this if I'm gaining more experience at work, you know? And it was kind of sad. You know, I was like, why am I getting this degree? You know, why am I working to get this piece of paper if I'm doing more and I'm learning more outside of academia? So, you know, I kind of held that idea for a while until I went to Epicurrents this past fall in Utah. You know, I told everybody, I was like, this is where I'm at right now. I don't really know why I'm doing this anymore. I don't really like feel it. But I got a lot of interesting advice. A lot of people were telling me, you know, you're only in school for so long. There's so many things that you can take advantage of as a student, and things that I had never really thought about before. You know, in school, you're allowed to, you know, try new things. You can learn what you want, and if you don't like learning that, then like it's no foul. You can just try something else. So, you know, there's a lot like that. Really, I took that to heart. And I mean, I've definitely changed my opinion on school for now. I mean, there's still a lot of problems with it, but I'm gonna stick it out and get this degree. One thing I do want to mention, after my internship at Fantasy, I switched majors from entrepreneurship to this interdisciplinary custom design major program that the school offers. And you know, like, I had heard about it before my internship at Fantasy, but I had gotten into the program, the custom design program, over the summer, and so when I came back to school, that was my first term with this new major. And I mean, I gotta say, like, that's the way to go. I mean, it's just so flexible, and like I am in control of what I want to learn. I don't have to stick to this like linear path that like every student has to do in order to get this degree. And so I built my own plan of study based on what I want to learn during my time in school. And I mean, so far it's been amazing. Like, it's just like, and it evolves with me too. So like, I'll be learning one thing, and like, I took this cognitive psychology class last quarter, and it was really incredible. And now it's just like, okay, well, now I want to take more psychology courses, and like, it just like happens overnight. It's just like, I can do that now, and it's not going to affect me when I graduate. So I mean, it's just been really amazing. So. You know, I'm really excited for InVision Studio. I've heard a lot of things about it. You know, the design community is going nuts over it. And you know, if it's anything like printable or maybe even framer, then it's bound to be, like, dare I say, like, game changing. Like, it might change the way, like, everybody prototypes. So looking forward to that. That should happen hopefully soon, right? Like sometime early this year or something. I'm also excited for Winter Work Week. That's coming up at the end of the month. You know, like I mentioned, I went to Epic Current 6 last year in Utah, and that was an amazing experience. So, you know, this Winter Work Week, it's on a bigger scale, but there's also going to be like these classes, and like I'm sure there's going to be some amazing conversations. So I'm looking forward to that in Yosemite. I've got a lot of advice for students that are trying to get into this field, or even any field for that matter. First, you gotta hustle. Like when I was a sophomore, so that was like this time last year, or not even then, when I was a freshman, like summer, I was just like doing everything I possibly could. Like I would just give myself projects that I wanted to work on. I started doing the daily UI challenge, the 100-day thing. So I did that for a while, and then, you know, I just spent a couple times each day just networking, following people on Dribble, just reaching out, you know, asking for like a conversation. So like looking for ways to communicate with professionals in the industry. You know, I spent a couple times each day like on LinkedIn, just sending connections. I was on Dribble, just like asking people. That's how I met Ryan. That's how I met you. And I mean, it's just like listening to what people have to say and getting involved in the community. There is a Slack channel for Philly called PHL Design Co. That was really like my first exposure to people in the industry. You know, and I listened to what they had to say. I got involved. I, you know, talked about design with these people. So, you know, do that. You know, and then like just like doing everything you can, like download the programs, learn the software. Like if I didn't know Principal before I worked at Fantasy, I mean, my experience would probably be completely different. So like just know the trends within the industry and like be a part of that. like I can't stress it enough. Like just do everything you can, and like don't expect to do amazing on your first try. You know, there's like in just anything, like when you're reaching out to people, not everyone's gonna respond. You know, Facebook's not gonna come knocking at your door like as soon as you apply or start searching. Like it's gonna take time, you know, and look in places that people don't always check, you know. So just look in places that people don't normally look. Like when I've been applying to Facebook since like freshman year, and like just at the time I was just applying on their website, and that didn't go anywhere. And it got to the point where it's like there's like a certain amount of times you can apply before you have to wait. So then I just made another account and I just kept on applying. But then I started, you know, reaching out on LinkedIn, and you know, while people were accepting my invites, they weren't always responding. And you know, that's okay, you gotta expect that. You know, of all the people that I reached out to on LinkedIn, only one of them responded, and that was the Facebook recruiter. And I had to reach out to several other recruiters at Facebook, several other designers at all of these other places. So, you know, don't expect everything to work out on the first try. I know that sounds cliche. As for academics, I mean, make the most of your experience. You know, I think it all depends on what you want to accomplish, but don't throw in the towel immediately. You know, there's so many things, like hidden like secrets about school, that you just have to like go out and look for. You know, people aren't always going to like hand you things on like a silver tray in school. You gotta apply yourself. You gotta get involved in the campus community. And you know, if you're new to the field, just look for any and every possibility to gain experience, paid or unpaid. You know, when I was working at the incubator, most of the projects I was working on were for free because I just wanted to get something tucked under my wing for like my portfolio, or just things that will help me understand the design field. So like say yes until you don't have to. you know. Just keep looking for places to apply yourself, and then there'll be this threshold where people will start coming to you, and then at that point you can say yes or no. I mean, it really just depends. Yeah, and I would just say, just keep hustling. Like, your hustle will ultimately lead you to whatever you want. The way I see it, it's 2/3 skill, and then 1/3 knowing how to network and communicate, and then like 0.0001% luck. So, you know, if you just keep sharpening your skills, if you keep like doing these personal challenges, if you keep challenging yourself, if you keep communicating with people in the industry and understanding like what the future is going to look like for the field, then you should be fine. So as far as what the future holds for the design industry, I mean, honestly, I don't think I could give you an answer. I mean, maybe it's AR, maybe it's smartwatches, maybe it's self-driving cars. I have no idea. What I do know is that I think the community itself is going to evolve in some really interesting ways. I know right now the design community is like highly accessible, highly like easy to reach out to, and I think that's only going to get better in the future. You know, I think even just this idea of design is going to evolve. You know, I feel like design is constantly like building upon itself. I mean, it's still this like weird field that nobody really quite knows like how to like define it quite yet, and I think we're going to see some more of that in the future. I think especially now, it's like I feel like we're gonna be thinking more from like a psychological perspective. I know right now, okay, so I know currently in most colleges, most programs that offer some sort of design experience just completely misses the mark. I mean, this is like true for most design students that I've talked to, that just like the program they're in right now is not cutting it. So I think in the future, these design programs are going to, or at least should, embrace this interdisciplinary aspect to it. Because, you know, design isn't just being an artist. It's like understanding how people think. There's a psychological perspective. There's a business perspective. You know, what does the company want? What does your client expect from you? And then there's right now there's the programming perspective. You know, you need to understand how to translate your idea and your experience to this technical level. So I think all of that in mind, the design programs in school hopefully will change. I mean, it should be interesting. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainties, but I'm hopeful.